Hey.
Hey-o.
Hey. Welcome back.
Hey, we're sticking around with our series on the temperaments and parenting. Download that quick guide that's in the show notes here. We're going to be using that as our company guide for the next few weeks. We're going to be talking cholerics today. So all you choleric parents, there's some things that you do amazingly and some things that we, as a fellow choleric, we struggle with. We're going to be getting into all of that and some strategies that you can actually apply to clean up the interior life here so that you can show up as your best self and all your beautiful choleric gifting.
And we were kind of short. Like this was like a shorter, episode.
About like 2 minutes.
I don't know. But that's for you, cholerics, because we know that you like to be efficient.
All right.
You just save 2 extra minutes.
So if it drags along at any point, just blame her, right?
Yes.
It's just like, you don't shut up, Matt.
We'll see you guys in there.
See you guys.
Yo.
Hey, welcome back to the Catholic Coaching Podcast. My name is Matt.
And I'm Erin.
And we're going to be your Catholic coaches for the day. We are still talking temperaments and parenting. Today, we're going to be focusing on I speak for the cholerics here, the choleric parents, the things that we do well, the things that kind of take us off and get us frustrated and showing up not as our best selves. And what are some of the strategies that we can actually deploy that leverage the strengths of our temperaments while at the same time helping us grow in more virtue as parents so we can create more of that connection in our home.
Yeah. And also deal with some of our mindsets first, because you can't really employ strategies if you're coming at it from a messy mind. So we got to clean up our thinking about our children first.
Yeah. A lot of us know the things that we should be doing as parents.
There's a reason why you're not, though.
Yeah. And it's interior more than it is exterior. So let's get away from the shame and actually get into strategies that work, that interior life. Okay. We want to plug also here the temperaments guide that we have. That really is our accompaniment guide for this podcast series. And so you can go into the show notes. You can download that for free. It's our parenting quick guide. You can also go to catholiccoaching.com/free resources, and you can download that quick guide there. There's some great stuff in there that's just very applicable for not only parents, but anybody that's forming young children.
Yes.
Teachers, youth ministers, super helpful stuff in there for you.
Yeah.
Cool.
Let's get into it.
Okay. Let's talk some of the gifts that the choleric parents have. So first off, is leadership. All right. So as a choleric parent, just naturally take charge. And what that leadership does is it can really create some helpful structure in the home. We all know how important routine is to kids, anybody, right? Goodness gracious. I know the importance of my own routine and guard it. But that importance of routine. The next one here, goal-oriented. All right. Whenever I hear goal-oriented, sometimes it can be a little bit off-putting. I really like there being a clear vision.
Yes.
That a choleric can like a clear standard of excellence, even that you're moving towards.
And that plays off of the first one under leadership. The actual definition of it is like provides clear direction, and you need a goal in order to provide that direction.
Yeah. Whether that goal is getting to bed at a certain time or eating dinner as a family or a behavioral goal, whatever it may be. Okay. Decisiveness is the other area here. So again, that decisiveness can start to create a little bit more stability into the home so you don't get stuck in that hesitation place. Discipline, sticking again with the routine, and even just having some helpful guidelines. I think something that I can help with my choleric is creating some structure and creating some rules that are actually helpful. But I know sometimes I need some help and not just building arbitrary rules, right? That are more protecting me and my stuff than they are actually helping to form my daughter.
Yes.
Okay. And finally here we have passionate. And so that passionate could be, there is a charisma, there is a drive to really see the value of the things that they value and protect vehemently, even to the point of suffering, enduring some sort of physical hardship, even to make sure that the things that are important to you are protected.
Yeah.
Cool.
All good things. I mean, I think for me, being sanguine, phlegmatic, I appreciate all of those strengths that you bring that to the table for Avila. She, I think, also really likes structure,
Mm-hmm.
likes having clear guidelines for things. Being melancholic, she just appreciates that, knowing what winning looks like. But also that discipline side of it too, I think is really helpful. I don't know if it's just me, but for some reason, or maybe it's the deep voice, not my deep voice, Matt's deep voice, but whenever I suggest something, it takes a little bit of time for her to listen, but she listens to dad right away. So maybe that's just across the board. Maybe it's a temperament thing. Maybe it's a combo. Anyway,
Either way,
yeah, feedback.
It's working.
Go ahead. If you're watching this on YouTube, go ahead and give me some feedback on that.
Either way, it's working.
Yes.
But okay, moving into some of the frustrations that we've got here. And these frustrations the way that we highlight these is we think about different temperaments and how they might trigger the choleric parent. Well, first of all, having even other choleric children.
Ooh.
This is where the power struggle can come in. And what's painful about the power struggle is when you're bigger, you can win. Like just by virtue of your authority, you can win. But it doesn't really, if you're operating from I'm just going to win, I'm going to win in this arms race, you will win in some ways, but you'll ultimately lose because you haven't really formed this great will, this strength of will that the choleric child has here as well.
Wait, what does that mean? That you haven't formed their will?
Yeah.
Or helped them form their will?
You haven't helped them form. If it's just going to be, okay, I'm going to show up and I'm going to, if this is going to be a power struggle, I'm going to let you know what time it is.
Yeah.
And then it turns into an us versus them. And when there's an us versus them, there's a winner and there's a loser, and I will win.
Yes,
right.
Yes.
Which also means that you will lose, but ultimately everybody loses there. It doesn't really get you looking down that path of what does a win-win situation look like? And a win-win meaning that, yes, I get to reinforce the boundaries that are important.
Yeah.
But also I get to invite this choleric child that has a strong strength of will. It's one of their superpowers of their own decisiveness. And how have I given them an opportunity to cultivate that, to form it and mature it?
Yeah. And if you guys didn't listen to the last podcast, we talked about this, how your relationship with your children, it's different. So it demands you to be in a different role than maybe your relationship with your spouse, even though a lot of these struggles and these strengths might show up in a relationship with your spouse. It is different because your role as a parent is to form your child. And so if any of these are kind of moving you away from doing that, like what you're saying is like, no, this is about winning versus like actually forming your child and their will. Because if that will goes, I don't know if they can ever go underwater like their wills, but it's going to come out in some way and it's not going to be great if it's not formed.
Yeah. They're just going to wait for you not to be around so they can do whatever that they want to do.
Right.
Yeah. Okay. So don't settle for the external compliance with the internal rebellion.
Got it.
Right.
Got it.
We want to have internal compliance here as well. And that comes from inviting them to actually exercise their will and choose of their own free will, choose the good.
Yeah.
Right. And get in the habit of doing that. Okay. But if you want to learn a little bit more about that, go and check out the do's and don'ts of parenting choleric children and get into that in a little bit more. All right. Next one. The sanguines, the lack of focus. Right. And this is where I know for me, the lack of focus can be.
So this is a frustration.
This is a frustration for the choleric parent.
Got it.
And for me, it's the lack of focus is actually something that is attacking or assaulting or undermining our ability to achieve a goal.
Got it.
So cholerics tend to really be very logical, maybe even linear with their thinking. And again, shoe fits wear it. That's how I show up. And so there's a way, like a choleric has a way in mind of how something is going to happen. And if you're kind of
all over
squirrel,
the place,
and butterflies going by and just not necessarily staying focused on the plan. It's putting the plan in jeopardy, and it can be a little bit annoying. It's like, why aren't you getting in line here?
Yes. Yeah. I find that cholerics and sanguines become good friends because they both are passionate and like enthusiastic, but that friendship can be a little tense when you have like a project that you're working on together. And so really like that was from a marriage standpoint, that was actually when we got the most frustrated with one another, when we've finally were working on, like, we were doing youth ministry together, and it was like,
oh my goodness.
whoa.
Yeah. If it had continued on like it was back in the youth ministry days, like, I don't know if we'd still be married. Like, it was.
Well, we're here to show you that there's hope. But anyway.
Absolutely. No, it's been our opportunities for greatest growth too.
Yeah. Right. Exactly. So, and bring it back to the parenting thing, like, those sanguine children need a little bit more focus. They do need some direction. And to not shame them for it, just bring them back to home.
It's going to be different. Okay.
Yes.
The melancholic with the sensitivity to criticism. This is another frustration point where I don't know, just as a cleric, I just want to know, what do I got to fix? Just tell me what it is. Be frank with me. Let me know. And so I can learn, and I can learn quickly here too. And we don't have to waste time just with niceties and things like that. But there may be a little bit more of a sensitivity with that melancholic side. And just so I know sometimes when I'm correcting Avila, right, I'm saying, okay, this isn't something that we want to continue doing. She's like, so I'm bad. And it's just like, no, that's not it. We're not going to go there. All right. We're going to say very specific here. Okay. Excellent over here. And so, but also the giving praise is something that's not necessarily second nature to a cleric, because there's just such a high expectation they have for themselves to just do what's duty bound. They expect it from other people.
I feel like you're pretty good at giving her praise because you're intentional about it.
It's learned. Like it's something where I have to be very, yes.
Yeah. But also I think you can relate to this sensitivity because you're secondary melancholic. So like, there might be a little bit that you can kind of pull from and be like, yes. I get it.
Words of affirmation, my love language too.
Right.
Okay. The phlegmatic, and we'll be spending some more time on this one, lack of urgency. All right.
Enough said. We'll
get into that here in a moment. But just overall, just a disrespect for authority. I think that could be something triggering to a cleric parent. It's certainly when I find myself having this underlying thought of, this is disobedient. This behavior is disobedient, or this is like, that's where I can start going, get very big. I can feel the arms race starting in me, the escalation, the preparing for the fight, the us versus them starting to come on. And so again, just these frustration points, we bring them up to just give you an opportunity to kind of claim some of these trigger points for yourselves. When we sit in frustration as parents, we don't show up as our best selves.
Right.
Okay. And oftentimes we end up adding to the very problem that we perceive, or creating the problem that we perceive when it wasn't actually there before.
Well, and we step out of that role as formator, as spiritual, mental, emotional, physical, like we're formators. The Lord has given us this role.
Yes.
To form our children.
Yep. Okay. So I want to focus a little bit on parenting the phlegmatic child.
I can relate to this one too, because this trigger, I can relate to it because I'm sanguine and I'm like highly impatient. I mean, I think we both struggle with it in different ways. There's like kind of an underlying thought that's different for both of us, but we both struggle with it. So
what I find though is when one of us is really struggling with this thought, lack of sense of urgency, I think what we do well is like, we'll come in, we'll just kind of fill that space a little bit more. Rarely are we struggling with the thought at the same time.
Yes.
Okay. It's just like, it's a little bit of good cop, bad cop that we can show up, or like emotionally regulated versus unregulated parent.
Well, I think we're both protecting different things.
Okay.
And I think you're protecting the goal and like the efficiency towards the goal. And I have a different goal. And like, I might be protecting, I don't know, like my comfort or something. I don't know. I haven't really thought about it that much deeply, but I think we are protecting different things, but it shows up similarly and maybe at different times. What are some of the beliefs that a choleric parent will think about a phlegmatic child? Okay.
All right. So again, the shoe fits, wear it. Maybe it's some sort of a nuance of these things, but here we go. They are slow. They have no sense of urgency. They give up way too easily. They are lazy.
I'm going to add a couple. Nothing motivates them. They are stubborn. They give up way too, you already did that one. They don't stand up for themselves.
They're a pushover.
They don't ever take initiative. They're way too afraid or hesitant
or shy. Like they're too shy.
Yeah. So what's your thought?
It's just like there's no sense of urgency. And
We've
I know we've
totally
talked about this before.
Yeah.
It's still one that comes up, but I had a recent, I'd say, breakthrough, like this morning, kind of recent, where I went into it, having done this work and done some of this prep work, really went into it with a different mindset, and it was really fruitful.
Let's
I can't
not
wait
get
to share
there
it with
first.
you guys.
Okay,
Yeah. But
what does this mean for you? She has no sense of. Why is this a problem for you? I'm curious.
Okay, so
she has no sense of urgency.
I'm thinking specifically here in the morning.
Yes.
Right. So in the morning, or when we're going to church, where I get frustrated is you are gonna make it so that mom's going to get frustrated, or you're going to make it so that we're not going to leave on time, or you're going to make it so that like we're not going to be able to get this done. So like I'm thinking, first of all, when I'm thinking about how managing your emotions, that's a problem from the get-go here, because I can't do that. I'm thinking about getting out the door on time. And I'm just, it's very much an isolated goal that I'm pursuing without any sort of like consideration to relationship.
Yeah.
For me, the whole focus is like getting there one way or another. It doesn't matter how we get there. Yeah. Just accomplishing it.
Okay. So guys, notice that question just like uncovered a lot of other thoughts, just being like, why is this a problem for you personally? But what are you thinking about her? Like, so like she has no sense of urgency. What do you think about her and how she's showing up to your relationship? Like what judgments do you have of her?
Well, like she's doing this intentionally. She's intentionally dragging her feet, or she's again, disobedient, right?
Yes.
I talked about that earlier. She's being disobedient.
Yeah, guys. And if you do this with yourselves too, let's say you have that same thought, what you want to do is ask like, what is this? Why is this a problem for me? But also, what am I judging? Like, what judgment do I have of her or your child, whatever? So she's being disobedient. That's the one that's like kind of underneath it.
Well, as soon as I think that thought, then the next thought I think is, I can't allow this to continue.
Okay. So you show up. So what's the emotion I'm curious, what's the emotion from that thought, from she's being disobedient? Or I can't.
It's a very convicted in like putting the foot down, like prepare to drop the foot, like that. I feel very justified in escalating. And so you see here, like it starts out as like
feeling powerless.
She's just dragging her feet. It's a little frustrating. Then she's disobedient. Okay, that escalates the scenario a little bit more. His dragging feet isn't quite as severe as being disobedient. Yep. And then this thought of like, I can't allow this continue. And then there's an or else that's kind of appended onto that one, or else like she's going to learn to be disobedient, and I'm going to be reinforcing her being disobedient and lazy, and she won't ever be successful at life.
I'm so curious. I can't allow this to, what is it? Continue?
I can't allow this to continue.
And so how do you feel when you think that?
Well, it feels, so it's easier for me to say how I react.
Great. Do it that.
So
how do you react?
The reaction is just like laying down the law hard.
Okay.
Right. Which means raising my voice, throwing down, like, if you don't do this right this second, and like being very, very intense and like, so, all right. So little story. So last week it was the morning routine and we were getting into it, and she was not moving when I was asking her to move. Be very facty. Okay. She was dawdling. I told her to go brush her teeth. I left. I came back. She's not brushing her teeth. Mm-hmm. She's not getting dressed. She's not doing any of the things that I asked her to do. In fact, she's actually hiding. And I go, Avila, get out here right now. And she pops out and she kind of goes, ah. And she was hiding behind the door. And I go, what are you I told you to brush your teeth. start brushing those teeth. And she started to kind of whimper, and she goes, I was afraid this was going to happen. Mm-hmm. And that's when I realized the reason she was hiding is because she was afraid of what just happened. She was already anticipating like the thought of me getting angry if I caught her not brushing her teeth, which inclined her to hide, even though she could have just chosen to brush her teeth and have been in compliance. That thought, that fear was so intense that even in that moment, even though she had all the power to go and brush her teeth, she hid.
Yeah.
And it was like, oh gosh, like this is what this putting my foot down creates in my home.
Yeah.
This fear where she's actually hiding. And there's something that's just so sad as a parent when your child is hiding from you.
Yeah.
You know, I think, the words of the father in the garden, Adam, where are you?
Yeah.
Right. I'm hiding. Mm-hmm. It's like, oh.
Yeah. So you have this thought, I can't allow this to continue to happen.
Yep.
I imagine you feel angry. Like there's probably some type of like indignation there.
Well, it's like this, it's a justification because if I do allow this, then I'm accountable for it. So there's the hyper responsibility kicks in here, but then also,
or just frustration.
Yeah, it's frustration. And I just get angry. And so it's just like, I'm going to do it in this way where I come in overpowering.
Yes.
I'm going to overpower it.
So you overpower.
I'll get a compliance.
Yeah. And what are the fruits?
Oh, the fruits are disconnection, or she actually the rupture the rupture in the relationship actually inclines her to even move slower.
Yes.
And
it continues to happen.
And then you come out, and then you're just like, well, now I got to deal with this too. And so like, I wanted to protect your emotions, and now like I'm creating a trigger rich environment for you. And it's just like, I have now created a situation that is contrary to what I wanted.
Yeah. I'm just curious, like, is this approach working?
That was the end of the question that I started to ask myself. Yeah. Is this even working? And it was just, and I needed that first, because the thought was, this is going to fix it.
Yeah.
Going high and to the right and putting the foot down and getting loud. This is going to fix it. And it didn't. All the evidence pointed to the opposite. It was making it worse. So it was like, okay,
I just broke it.
I'm ready. I'm ready for something new. I'm ready for a different approach here. And even just going back and kind of questioning, getting curious about that initial perception of she's dragging her feet. She's being stubborn. She's being disobedient. Yep. Just asking this. I picked this up from you, Erin, where I noticed you started to get a lot more curious with her. It's just like, what if she's not trying to be stubborn or disobedient? What if there's just something else that's going on?
Yeah.
And I've watched you just come alongside her and be like, hey, what's going on? Like, in that question, you said it in the last episode, it creates a space. And then when you invite the melancholic or the phlegmatic here, and you create a space for that introverted temperament, and it's safe, they'll enter that space and they'll share, right? They'll share that what's going on. So yeah, that was something that just at least started it where my brain started to go there. Was like, okay, all right. First of all, I recognize this is causing more harm than good. Yes. And that built this conviction to not go down that way. Right. And so when I feel the puppy dog start going and that I'm going to put my foot down, I can sense that and how it feels in my body and be like, pause. All right. We've been down this. We know where it goes. Doesn't go to a good place. How can we take a breath, ground ourselves, reset here? And then even asking that question, the thought, there might be something else at play here.
Yeah. Getting curious.
That gets me curious. And that curiosity is something that it just puts me into a place of compassion versus that self-righteous, self-justified place where I'm operating from presumption versus really getting curious on what's below the surface that I don't see that could be influencing here. When I say it's presumptuous, again, when somebody's being disobedient, the presumption is that they're choosing to be disobedient. They're trying to piss you off. Like there's some malicious intent that's underneath it. I don't know if I could really throw that. I don't think that really holds weight with my daughter.
Yeah.
And most kids like that are under the age of reason. They're just,
well, and I think even just
reacting.
Like we know actually because she is under the age of reason, not far under the age of reason. She's 6.5, and she may have like started to figure stuff out a little bit. But even kids who are younger than the age of reason, they actually, because they don't have the reason to understand what is obedient and what is not. They are behaviorally minded. And like I said, it changes. It's not like they turn 7 and all of a sudden they have reason, but it's like around that time. It isn't really that intentional. Like it arguably isn't disobedient, because if they're not being like, this is what obeying is, and I'm not doing that on purpose, maliciously or whatever, like so you can even question the disobedient, like even that framing or that judgment.
Now with this, what I found is helpful is just kind of to be able to build some proper associations for what obedience looks like. Right. And so I can say that when I tell you to start going at certain time or to turn the TV off at this time and you don't do that, that is being disobedient.
Yeah, like teaching her.
So it's a teachable moment. Okay.
Yep.
And it's also a way of setting that standard. Another thought that was helpful here was just, she doesn't respond well to the escalation. Yeah. To the arms race.
Yes.
And again, even that builds this conviction to not go down that path. Yeah. Because it feels really intense and really strong and really inviting for me to go down that path of escalation. But I know it doesn't work. It's not effective.
Yeah. I like this question. It could be applied here. It can be applied to anything, but when you realize something isn't the solution, just to start asking like, what else could be? So like in this case, like, what if putting my foot down wasn't the solution? What else could be the solution? So it's using your like problem solving skill and strength and strategy to be like, okay, it's not like a shame producer. It's like, well, we kind of know this isn't the solution, but like, what else could be the solution? So you start to find another way too. I think that helps you find another way.
Yeah. And it really is stepping into your power at this point, like truly stepping into your power. Because all these other things that I was doing, like the thought of she's being disobedient, I got to put my foot down, I have to deal with this, I can't let this go without being addressed. It feels the thought is, now this is me stepping into my power, but what I've created is an even a situation where I feel even more powerless.
And I pause here,
which triggers me again.
Pause here. I want you guys to listen to this. So everything that he was just saying, it was like blaming her, like she's doing this, she's doing this, she's doing this. We all do this, right? Like unintentionally in our minds. And even the language he was using, I can't allow this to continue to happen. I can't. Everything is powerless about this. Everything. Like, because when we're a victim to our circumstances, like we feel powerless, and blame is one of the indicators of that. And then this powerless language, like I can't, that kind of stuff. So just, if you notice yourself being that way, you are going to feel powerless. And if you are choleric, you're going to respond to that powerlessness in an angry way, like in an intense way, because you do not like feeling powerless.
Yes.
Some other temperaments recoil and like don't respond to it or run away. I would argue to say cholerics will fight.
Yeah. This next thought here was a reframe that it was very helpful. Because as a choleric, I love to learn. I love to learn lessons quickly so I can improve quickly. And it was a thought, God has a growth opportunity here for me. Yeah. Like God is presenting me a growth opportunity. And again, that is like, oh, I wonder what that might be, which brings a curiosity, but there's also an excitement that's there. And there's also like there's also this sense of God fathering me through this moment here, not to put an opportunity for me in front of me so that I can fail. Yes, there's some humiliation, perhaps that's part of this, but there's an invitation to step out of my own power and step into God's power and really understand a little bit more of like God teaching me what it means to truly father somebody, but in a particular way, father my daughter here.
Yeah.
In the way that he fathers her and he loves her. And I get to participate in his fathering of my daughter in a very real way. That's transformative to both of us.
Yeah. That
gets me really jazzed and really excited.
I think another way you can say that too, because there's like, I say it in a different way, but I'm just going to go ahead and share it. And this is the thought. There's a reason this lesson keeps coming up for me. Mm-hmm. There's a reason this lesson keeps coming up for me. There's a reason why I keep getting bothered by this. And the Lord is kind of going, take this deeper.
Over here.
Let's
Triggers or trailheads.
Deeper. Yes.
Let's take a look. Mm-hmm. Okay. So there's a couple of reframes that were helpful for me as a choleric parent in this case with somebody less lack of sense of urgency. Let's jump into some of the strategies. Yeah. All right. So Erin, you've got a longer list of the strategies. I don't know if you want to pull some of those out. I just picked the one as I look through this. And again, the strategies here that you can actually get in our Temperaments Quick Guide, click in the show notes. You can download it. Also CatholicCoaching.com. You can download it there under our free resources tab, and you'll get the full list of these things. Mm-hmm. But this one here, I actually applied it this morning, and I'll share actually how it all worked out. But what are some of those strategies here?
Strategy for a choleric parent with phlegmatic children who may be dragging their feet or, a little bit afraid or hesitant are set small, achievable deadlines to encourage steady progress. Mm-hmm. They love steadiness. They love balance. Phlegmatics do. Small and achievable goals. What I've started to do just to get her off of the couch to go eat her breakfast in the morning is I'm like, really slow. And I'll be like, I wonder if I'm going to win today. Race. Like I'm going to race you from the couch. It's like 5 feet. I'm going to race you from the couch to the table. And every single time she wins, but I'm always like, I wonder if I'm going to win this time because you're just laying there. So, maybe I have a head start. And so I'll be like 5, 4, on your mark, get set. And we take off and she wins every single time, but it's small. It's achievable. She knows it's achievable for her and it gets her out.
It's a nice little dopamine hit. And actually something it's fun that you're doing together.
Yes. Yes. Number 2, did you already do this? Okay. This is the one that you're going to do. Use gentle encouragement and avoid overwhelming them with pressure. This is a really big thing. Phlegmatic children tend to value harmony and finishing things together, over simply getting things done. Mm-hmm. So avoid pressure. And gentle encouragement. And then finally, recognize the need for calm and provide space to recharge while maintaining consistent expectations.
Okay. So the strategy of gentle encouragement and maintaining harmony and togetherness is often not how I approach things. It's often like, here's the goal. Here's what has to be done. Go do it. Right. Mm-hmm. And just recognizing that the phlegmatic part of her, it's more important to finish together than just finish. Mm-hmm. So I had been thinking about this and it's like, okay, how can we make this something where there's an opportunity for togetherness and connection that's here, even making it a little bit fun, even a little bit entertaining for me. All right. So, so one of the things that I did, she has all her stuffed animals at the table. And this even plays into a little bit my achiever competition part of it is said, okay, I go deep. All right. And so she runs all the way down the hall to her room and I have her stuffed animals and she's now closer. So we're starting to lean into that strategy of small goals. She's closer to the room. And then we have a game of I throw the stuffed animals to her and she tries to catch them. This morning she was 0 for 4, but that's okay. She's strong in other areas. And from there, it's already kind of feeling good. This is fun. I will now walk with her into the room. And I'll say, okay, like, how about we just go and we just brush teeth now? And so she's like, okay. And I'm with her. I'm kind of laying some of the clothes out as she's brushing her teeth. So we're together. We're close by. And then one of the things I said to her today was, I wonder if you can, while you're getting dressed, I wonder if you can make me laugh. And so she's actually pretty funny. She started to do something kind of like, well, I don't know, like what 6-year-olds do to make you laugh. And it was fun, but we got to connect a little bit. And I noticed that as she was laughing and giggling, she was still getting dressed.
Yes.
Which is awesome.
Yeah.
You know? And we even had something where I said, okay, we're going to make it so it's like a fire drill, and you're a fireman getting your fire suit on. Right. Mm-hmm. And I'm going to be, filling out all the paperwork because I got to fill out stuff for her school folder and get her lunch ready and stuff like that. And when I come back, you got to be ready to like hop on the truck. And so I leave and I'm going to see if you can do it. And obviously give her plenty of time to be able to do it. But I come back and she's all set. She's ready to go. And it was like 20 minutes before we needed to have everything done.
Which rarely happens.
The other thing, even before we got off out of the table from the breakfast table, I said, okay, this morning's going to be a little bit different. Okay. I'm going to be mom's got to do some stuff to get ready. So she's not going to be able to help you get dressed. Mm-hmm. And that's usually what the routine is. So we're really going to have to work together as a team. And I really wove that word team in there very intentionally so that we can all make it out the door on time and do everything that we need to do in order to get to, leave the house on time. And so now, again, harmony, people that are high harmony need to have a shared goal, a clear vision of what, winning looks like. And I'm really proud of how it all worked out this morning.
Yeah.
There was just no trigger. It was I recognized that I need that opportunity for connection.
Yeah.
And fun. And it worked out well.
So what were the new thoughts that helped you with that? Because it wasn't really natural for you. Like you said.
Yeah.
You probably could have picked one of the other strategies that were like set small, achievable deadlines to encourage steady process, which would be probably more aligned with the choleric.
It was the thought of we can do this as a team.
Okay.
Even just that, like there's a way of doing this as a team, or even my melancholic parts of me that really enjoy the connection. Really desire that. That was another thought that I had was like, this is I can turn this into an opportunity for connection. Yeah. And that got me excited. It got me jazzed. And
well, I mean, even just turning it around towards her and being like she is motivated by connection. Mm-hmm. So if I disconnect during this time, it's way more feet dragging. Yes. Like she is motivated by connection. Yeah. And then you could go, and so am I, in this particular way or whatever. Mm-hmm. But I think that's really helpful to know that. Awesome. That's it.
We rolled through it. Okay. Ooh. So choleric parents, that's some of the work. We got some great strengths. We got some frustrations we can work on. We're not stuck with those things. They're starting points. Those triggers are trailheads for us to be able to do some of this mindset work and prayerfully inviting the Lord's grace to come in here as well and school us and what it means to grow in charity in these areas of our lives.
Well, and also guys, we have an online academy and we have plenty of coaches who can help you with this. So if any of these thoughts, if you were like, I definitely have these thoughts about my phlegmatic spouse, my phlegmatic child, my phlegmatic coworker, whatever. Mm-hmm. If you have these thoughts, we have mindset coaches who can help you through it. I mean, because your mind is different from Matt's, even though you may be a fellow choleric, it's going to be different. Mm-hmm. And so what works for him might be a little bit different than from what works for you. And we also have our academy. It's the 7-day free trial. Mm-hmm. So you can go in there and get coached every day if you want on these thoughts, but it's really, really recommended that you work on your mind before you go into applying these strategies. Especially the strategies that might be unnatural for you. There's just no way they're going to stick. I mean, I think the way that we work as humans is at the root of it are our thoughts, our thinking. And so if we have any of those hidden judgments towards our children or those hidden, I don't know, agendas or attachments of our own, it's going to get in the way of us really loving them and really practicing these strategies to connect with our children.
Yeah. And you can learn this stuff on your own. You can as a cleric. It's just not going to be as fast as it when you're doing it with somebody else.
Yeah.
So if you really want to know a sufficient way of being able to do this, is some like partner up with somebody for a season, and your gains will be that much quicker.
Yeah, and then you'll just learn the skill.
Yeah,
just do it yourself. Yeah.
Also, if you know any other cholerics, right? Maybe your spouse, maybe your sister, your brother-in-law, like share this stuff with them, because if it's empowered you, it's going to empower them as well.
Yes.
Cool. All right, we'll be back diving into the introverted parent temperaments here in the next few weeks here. So stick around, like, and subscribe. We'll see you.
And go download, if you haven't taken our assessment yet, go and take that.
Goodness gracious.
If you're like, well, what are these words? All these temperaments, go take our assessment, but also download that parenting quick guide. That's for you, my friends. And we'll see you next week.
See you next week. Hey, thanks for sticking with us in the Catholic Coaching Podcast. If you like what you heard,
please like and subscribe, and we'll see you again.